Hello out there. Welcome back to TableTalk Discussion and Discourse. Or, welcome for the first time, who knows? I am your host, Alejo, aka Radon95.
I am your second host, SneakyAdolf.
Mm.
Yes, that.
Fuck. I'm your third
Okay.
host, Boo.
Okay. I see we're taking that approach.
Yes.
I somehow felt it coming,
Mhm.
like, over the past couple days, and I was like, nah, surely that won't happen.
No, surely not.
So,
Mm.
yeah, before we get into today's affairs, few things, positive things, in fact, very positive things due to our resident third host. This man
Yeah,
over here,
resident potty mouth.
this
This
fucker,
this man child, yes.
yeah, this guy, he has brought us a bunch of new people, and hey,
Yes.
welcome everyone.
Alright.
Welcome.
Our viewership has, I think it's deca-quintupled.
I think so, yeah.
So wait, we were at 18.
Yeah,
what did it go
we're
up
at-
to?
we're at 270.
276.
Oh, I'm sorry, 276. It was 275 when I looked at the other
God damn.
second.
Yeah, so
no.
that is a 15.333 repeating, of course, percent.
Uh-huh.
It is quite phenomenal, and quite happy about it. I hope people continue to listen and enjoy. And so there's that, which is pretty fucking cool. Secondly, we got our first little bit of criticism coming in, which I shared with these boys when it came in.
Yes.
Now I reached out and was like, "Hey, do you mind if we, name drop and read it, and just kind of respond to it and stuff, just to make sure, right?" Didn't get a response. So at this point, I won't say name. And we'll just go over the criticism in general. But yes, so we got our first little bit here that went to and you can email in to tabletalkd@gmail.com for your criticism.
I'm eating food, by the way. I apologize for the noise. Anyway.
You're fine. So, or you can leave a comment, whatever, we'll look at them. And the
Or
person,
will we? No. Sorry.
the individual in question admitted to not having watched a full podcast, but felt that there was a lot of swearing that was going on, enough to drag down our discussion, make it a lot harder to kind of parse what we were talking about, and of course not saying we should like completely hold back and be more G rating or anything like that. It was just that they felt that
I take full responsibility for that because at the time I was talking about a subject that made me very, very angry at a very visceral level. So I apologize for that.
Vitriol behind that.
It's true.
So
yes, he did specifically mention Boo ranting about the guy hitting on the Duke's wife. I don't remember which one that was from, because at the moment I am caffeine addled, in fact, and my brain does not work that well. But I'm sure I've done it too. Like we all fucking swear, and I just did it, right? Like I didn't think about it really. It just
kind of happens.
It's just part of how I talk. It's part of how we all kind of talk, and I figured we'd address it a little bit before going on too much farther. Personally, I'm not going to promise anything in the sense of stopping or having less of it happen, because I can't do that. I just can't.
Yeah.
Since what, fucking 2014, it's just become a way of speaking.
Yeah, same actually.
Yeah,
because
so that's
there's
about the same time for me as well.
Yeah.
there is a you can look this up. There are I forget exactly how many it was. I think it was 5.
Mhm.
There are 5 different kinds of swearing,
Sure.
at least in English. It's emphatic swearing, social swearing,
Mhm.
Descriptive swearing, I think it is, and then cathartic swearing, and then there's one more that I can't remember.
Yeah. Okay.
Cathartic swearing is like, oh my god, that fucking hurt. You know,
Right,
you say it, and it helps.
Wouldn't that be more descriptive?
Well,
I mean-
I assume he's talking about like a release of like the tension of like the pain or
Yes.
something that you're feeling.
Yes.
yeah.
Or if you get really angry and you yell fuck, you know.
Right. Yeah.
That's cathartic. That's a better example.
Mhm.
And social swearing is just, and it's kind of what we do usually,
Mhm.
where we don't swear because we really mean anything by it. It's just because that the podcast is just kind of a space where we can let loose and just say whatever we want.
Yeah.
Without fear of any reprisal. Because in this circle,
Yet.
you know what, between us, I mean.
Right. Okay.
You know, none of us are going to call each other out for bad language or anything, because for us, this is a space where we're like, we're all cool here. We can say whatever we want. That's why, like, off podcast, we're even worse.
At times.
Like when we're off playing games and it's just us, dude, we're way worse.
At times.
You don't
yes.
want to play games with us.
Or you do.
Well, or maybe you do.
Yeah.
So, that's more what it is.
Sure.
Unless it's clear that we're angry, then it's more the other one.
Like, and
I don't remember.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I understand the criticism. Obviously, I will fully admit that yes, it becomes harder to understand what somebody is saying when they just start going like fucking shit, like fucking, fuck, you know.
It's like the scene from the Boondock Saints, wherein like the 2 guys go and they clear out the room, and then the third character who exists to be the foil essentially to the other 2 straight men is like, oh, what, just fucking fuck, and then like he goes around on a tirade, and then one of them's like, well, it certainly certainly emphasizes the variability of the word, or
Right.
something like that.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Oh man.
That's that's actually completely off topic. That's a very interesting thing about the word fuck. It has the most uses, like types of uses than any other word in the English language.
Is that a
Is that true?
definitive fact, or is that something you're making up on the spot?
Nope, that's a definitive fact.
Oh.
Like,
Wow.
it can be used.
Is it like buffalo?
Yes, it's like that.
Okay, gotcha.
And police.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
It's
Well,
very weird.
I will do no fact checking, but I hear that fact checking is happening.
Yeah, I hear the fact checking too. I can't say a goddamn thing without it like, oh, Mr. Chemist Scientist over here. Gotta
Hey,
also be an English
hey.
professor.
Fact checking is a way of life.
It's fair.
It's just the problem is that it makes my life harder.
Well, my initial thought, right, was the word the.
Oh,
okay.
And
Oh, no. What I mean is,
yeah, it has the most definitions, but but when I looked up what word in English has the most uses, a Google chart for 100 most common words came up, and the was number 1.
Oh, yeah, no. What I mean is,
As
not-
most interpretations.
Right.
not how many times it's used, the
Yes.
different ways it can be used in a sentence.
Yes, it's interpretations.
Yes, okay.
But yeah. So that's that. Aiden, I know you had
Yes. I actually have a couple thoughts on the matter,
Yeah.
and I will basically be rereading through what I said in the
Right.
Discord channel to you guys to also inform the listeners. But I think I more or less agree with the comment to a limited extent. Swearing is part of how I communicate. However, it would be inaccurate for me to say that swearing is how I do all of my communication. There are people that I definitely don't swear at all around.
Oh, sure.
With very, very rare exception. So I will probably, at least personally, try to cut back on it somewhat, because I do think that the points that we make here are good ones. And I would personally hate for someone, or even multiple someones, to miss out on the points we make because they feel that the swearing bogs it down. I think that the overall hopeful bettering of the TTRPG community is more important than my comfortability with vocabulary. As such, I will personally make an effort to decrease it. No promises. It's not going to be perfect, and of course, it will be a process. But I will try to limit it. Also, because going back to won't someone think of the kids? We are a mature podcast. We've never made any attempt to market ourselves as being kid friendly. However, I do think that making ourselves, I guess, not quite how to put this, despite still remaining a mature podcast, making ourselves, I guess, a bit more acceptable to a younger audience through avoiding excessive swearing can help burgeoning new DMs.
I feel the broken.
Each,
arg, ouch! I feel the broken.
And as I even mentioned in my comment, I'm I do agree with what Brogan says, in that new DMs that are looking for new influences on how to DM, I don't want their first and only option to be taking 20.
No, absolutely.
No shots against Cody, but he has quite a few things that I disagree with.
Many people,
and I would like there to be a more a broader selection available.
Oh, sure.
Now that you mention that, I did actually have an idea, and this came about because of this whole thing.
Okay.
Since if we are gonna be trying to make ourselves a bit more accessible to a general audience and not just all the fuckboys, I was thinking, what if we add on, not only do we have the podcast and the campaign, how about we add on a segment where it's we talk about how we would run a game?
I was actually thinking of something.
Yeah, and so we just add on this new thing that we can do whenever it's part 1, character building, and
actually have a dedicated video series on.
Yeah, that's actually about getting started.
Oh, okay.
Because I know for a fact that I got a comment on the video that I released on my channel where I was like, "Oh man, I was wondering where you were. I'll be sure to tune in. I've always been wanting to get into D&D, and maybe this is where I'll get my start."
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, maybe we should do something like that.
Yeah, it is true. Sometimes what we have to say for that kind of thing is buried within the podcasts.
Yeah.
And I understand. I mean, everyone listens to the entire thing, right?
Of course.
That's
nobody
obvious.
skims. Nobody skims.
Absolutely not. And definitely don't look at the numbers and see arrows that are pointing down. And so yeah, no. Maybe we could try to make a 20-minute or maybe 30-minute little mini thing.
I mean, it would be kind of like Seth Skorkowski's video where he basically just goes over the rules.
Sure. Yeah.
That was actually sort of very similar to a lot of our earlier videos too, where we discussed the Mercer effect, why D&D is for everybody, and we'll be coming back to that point later tonight.
We will.
and things like how to be better at role playing, how to write villains, stuff like that.
Yes.
So
I mean,
that is something that we do already
yeah,
touch
exactly.
upon.
Yeah.
And of course, all of our loyal listeners listen to the whole thing. But
Exactly.
for our listeners on the go, who maybe only have a half an hour commute but don't want to lose out, then perhaps an annotated version, or not annotated. That's the completely wrong word for that.
Cliff noted.
Yeah,
More so, yeah.
A condensed.
There,
version.
that's the word, condensed. Definitely. So this is part of what I wanted to talk about as well, just as a good point before we begin, like, the actual point of this podcast itself, or this episode, excuse me, is that basically I'm figuring like this is going to be the start of season 2. Right? Because, I mean, it's an arbitrary thing, right? But we've done 21 episodes so far, and we're kind of getting into this newer era of now branching out more.
Era.
Well, you know what I mean.
I know.
We're going through the changes of trying to branch out a little bit more, and so having started and now getting into like making a whole nother series, like. Sure, guys, I'll do more editing.
No. I'm not saying a new series, but like just devote the first half hour of a podcast to something.
Yeah, no, I get that, but then I will like take those bites and make them their own like thing as well, right? Like, I feel like it'll be a good little side kind of playlist, I guess, that will be for those.
And I mean, it's not like we have to do it like, oh, we have the podcast and other stuff on Tuesday, and then we have it on Wednesday, and then Thursday. You don't have to add it on. We could just choose a night where it's like, okay, let's do this for like 30 minutes, and then cut, and then do the podcast.
No, absolutely. I'm more just, being overdramatic, I suppose.
Well, then calm your shit down. No.
Alternatively, I think it would perhaps be a good approach to when we review a video, and of course this is where it's now reaching into speculations on where we should take the podcast. Sure. That probably could be outside of the podcast, but hey,
you've already brought it up.
We're doing it live.
Well, not live.
Well, not live, but well, no, I'm streaming this, boo. What we could do is we decide like the videos for the week, and then spend our time thinking of like what we can do to fill up a half-hour segment on thoughts about the subject. So say for instance in Source Channel we have the best classes for new players to Dungeons and Dragons 5e by Dungeon Dudes.
Oh god,
it is on the docket.
And we could then take a half an hour and give our own opinions on the best new classes and why, and then watch the video, which will then not only allow us to get our thoughts out there and make probably predictions on what will be said, and then bets, of course. as does seem to be the case whenever we watch XP to level 3 and Taking 20.
Yeah,
we say something and then 5 minutes later they say it.
It's true.
Yeah, we could do that, and it would give us a chance to give our thoughts on an area and allow the video when we watch it to be more cohesive. That way we're not pausing every second and a half like EFAP.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I was starting to think of perhaps doing something along those lines, just to like preface it, I guess, and hopefully do something there. But that's definitely in the cards. We'll talk more about that, I suppose, later on. But since we're on the subject, might as well put this out there as well. Actually, no. I'll leave that to when we're talking shop later. But let's see. Was there anything else?
Closed door conversation. You guys so curious about what we'll be talking about.
Yeah.
Subscribe to our Patreon and find out.
So
You
yeah.
can find our OnlyFans
No,
at
Jesus
TableTalk.
Christ. Get me out. I think I started this thing. I can just end it right now, I guess. But yeah, I think that's everything that I was thinking of for positive things, like overwhelmingly positive things that have been going
Now
on.
on to the negative things.
Well, unfortunately, yes. Today.
Well, anything to watch together.
Oh, don't. Yeah, we're not starting there.
Not
Don't
yet.
worry. But
Oh
yeah,
no.
yeah, we'll get there. But first, this was brought to our attention a little while ago, and Wizards of the Coast have put out. Yes, they can do no wrong, obviously, and they have put out plans for the future. Now,
is this in the source channel? Which one are you talking about?
I will link it to you.
Oh, okay.
It's the dnd.wizards.com one, right?
Yeah, I'll just put that there.
Okay. So it's this one, the one that we were reading before.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Do you guys mind if I spearhead this one?
Sure, if you would like.
I have multiple thoughts on it.
Absolutely. Okay.
Well,
first, before we get into thoughts, right? Let's at least summarize what the article is about.
Yes.
This was put out on the 17th. This was only a few days ago for us at time of recording, and they are now going to basically retcon a bunch of things because racism, as well as inclusivity, as well as fucking making everything the same, so that nobody feels any sort of biases or anything, and like it's an interesting thing. It really, really is, and we did not like it. On first finding out and having had some time to digest it, I'm not as upset as I was, but I'm still not for it. So
yeah, I don't think I was ever particularly upset, but my feelings on this have kind of been a low burn that has kind of stayed.
Okay. But yes, go ahead. Spearhead.
So, Dungeons and Dragons, I absolutely agree with the first line of the article, which is Dungeons and Dragons teaches us that diversity is strength. For only a diverse group of adventurers can overcome the many challenges a D&D story presents. Yes, fair enough. However, I've noticed a real trend online when people are talking about these proposed changes, which is a lot of the people who seem to be newer to the series, let's just deem them 5e babies.
Okay.
The normies, yes.
Newcomers to Dungeons and Dragons in general are typically more for this than people who have been playing the series for a long while.
Doesn't surprise me.
To which I figured to myself, well, everyone in my group is a 5e baby. This is all of their first campaign. Let's see what their thoughts on it were. And I describe how race is no longer having bonuses, and instead you pick whatever bonuses you want and stuff like that. And I'm like, so there is no reason that an orc, for instance, is any stronger than a gnome. You know,
I never considered that. Shit.
Or, for instance, the fact that an orc can just as viably have a +2 to intelligence as, say, an elf who has lived for hundreds of years. Versus, a bunch of tribalistic orcs making dirt telescopes.
That's some Minecraft shit.
So upon describing to my players, I was like, so the proposed changes that they're looking to bring forth are no racial bonuses, and instead you just pick what you want. And my players were all kind of universally, they're like, yeah, that doesn't seem so bad. And I'm like, yeah. And I mentioned to my rogue, I'm like, even Jorgen here doesn't have what is baseline stat bonuses for half elf because, or half high elf, half Nord, because we described in his backstory why he would have something different. And they're like, yeah, no. So like they're basically doing what we do in the campaign already, and I'm like, not quite. And that's when I start mentioning like, following this, there's no reason for an orc to be stronger than a gnome. And then immediately, I see faces drop, and they're like,
Oh. Yep. And that's why I immediately did that spit take where I'm like, I hadn't thought of that. Not yet, anyway.
And I really get the fact that they're trying to make people who are coming from diverse backgrounds, and they're saying your individuality is more important than your race,
Sure.
which is a message I agree with. Your individuality is more important than your race. However,
Absolutely.
I do not know a single DM who would begrudge someone for coming up with a in-depth character backstory and then say, now screw you, you're taking strength.
Right.
Granted, your mileage may vary.
Right,
I can't
absolutely.
say with any like definitively positive claims that that's how it's going to be.
Yeah, the thing is, if you have a DM like that, you shouldn't be playing with them. Bottom line. Anyway, carry on.
Your mileage may vary on that statement too.
Hmm.
Definitely, if your DM isn't willing to meet you at least halfway, then it's probably going to lead to further issues down the
Yeah,
table.
that I
Maybe
will
a
say.
red flag.
Yes.
But let's see, diversity. Oh, right. However, I can't help but somewhat worry about by them neutering racial bonuses and
Everyone, yeah.
modifiers. I can't help but worry that the message that is instead going to be observed is more of there will never be equality among the races until all races are homogenous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
It's
I
like
go on.
sort of Firefly situation wherein humanity has existed for long enough that everyone is sort of like basically genetically homogenous. There are no races anymore because everyone is so interbred.
Sure.
And I'm somewhat worried that that may be more along the lines of what you're actually mechanically representing.
The problem is in their attempt to make it so that people don't feel left out and so that they feel included, you've taken away all the uniqueness away from them. That's the problem.
There's definitely and to quote like Incredibles, in fact, when everyone's super, no one will be, right? They've made it so that there's nothing other like, and to be fair, any character's individual traits that the player comes up with, right? That speaks miles more than their race, right?
Absolutely.
And like that's just always been the case. It's definitely like the race element has helped with the development of that character because you get to learn how the culture was, you know, how it's treated now. There's a lot of things that go into a world, but when you take away anything that kind of makes that race its own thing, it just makes it so that you look at the world and you go, well, everyone would be exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like, why would there be so much divergence?
There wouldn't be.
Well, exactly, because everybody would get along and everybody is exactly the same. Yeah. Like, it is just a utopia.
Well, yeah, everyone is human.
Exactly. Everyone is some... Like, it doesn't even matter what... Like, they aren't human, they're just a thing, right? They're
no humanoid.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's...
Well, they're saying that everything is now human. Orcs are human, tieflings are human. Meanwhile,
Yeah,
the
right.
humanoid tag is like, oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It is definitely like I understand what they're saying, but looking at it, you just look at everyone is this thing. It's not a human, it's not an elf, it's not an orc, it is just whatever this thing is. And they are taking away the word race as well, which is very strange to me.
Yeah.
I actually, you know what? Upon further review, I actually do agree with that, given that a race is typically members of the same species
Mhm.
that have different genetic phenotypes.
Oh.
So, well, actually, it would be both genotype and phenotype. Phenotype being physically like what you can see outside,
Mhm.
and genotype being differences in the actual genetic code.
Hmm.
However, I find it pretty clear that like orcs and gnomes are not the same species. As such, referring to them as different races
Mhm.
is mildly inaccurate. Different
Sure.
races would be, for instance, wood elf versus high elf.
Hmm.
That's fair. Yeah,
So now,
looking
but here's my question: what are they changing it to?
Folks, I believe.
folks?
Different
Yeah.
folks.
Okay,
Orc
that's
folk, elf folk.
fine, I suppose. Red
Dwarf
folk.
things and elf things and bad things. Yes, yes. So basically that. Basically, everybody is Skaven now.
Yeah.
There is
Skaven are human.
There is a bit of stickiness when you come to the when you remember the fact that the definition for a species, what determines if, for instance, like two birds or two rats are the same species, is their offspring genetically viable?
Sure.
So a horse and a donkey aren't the same species because while they can make mules,
Mhm.
mules cannot breed.
Yeah, and basically everything in D&D can kind of, sort of,
Everything
Yeah.
can fucks.
Yeah,
Oh,
you can-
everything fucks. Oh,
yeah, so like you can have half ogres, half orcs, half dwarves, half
Yeah,
gnomes,
yeah,
half halflings, which would actually be hilarious. I said that without even thinking. A half-halfling, a quarterling. Sorry.
We have a friend in the group, in our first D&D group who was fairly short, and I had keyed the term mostling to refer to her.
It's pretty good.
And there's also the fact that way back in like D&D, you have if you think of different like genetic tags, I guess you could say like half dragon, half human, they would have both the dragon tag and the human tag.
Yeah.
The dragon like descriptor can be put onto literally any race. So
Yep.
you can have half dragon, half plant.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
I remember
And that's how you have dragon fruit.
that.
Appleton.
Yeah.
And Flapple. God damn it.
But yeah, I can't help but feel with them washing things out. There's a green text I posted in the chat about it's this half orc barbarian that is actually an astronomer.
Okay.
And I'll just read through the green text, and it's playing Curse of Strahd. Group comes across by barbarian. Ask him his name. Log. This one's slow, boys. Better take the dumb brute with us for protection. Log is covered in the filth of the wilderness. Looks like he's just wearing scraps of cloth tied around his waist, necklace of bones and stone wrapped around his neck with various esoteric symbols scrawled on them. Log always takes the night watch, staring up at the sky while chewing on things with his tusks. Always picking up books whenever they encounter a library. Speaks in guttural grunts, monosyllabic words. Play with the group for a year. DM takes us into Planescape after we rid Barovia from the reign of Strahd. Tiefling Rogue glances over at Log's character sheet, notices a few strange things. Anon, how many languages does Log speak? 7. Anon, why does your barbarian have the highest int in the party? Tap the cloistered scholar background. Anon, why does Log speak in grunts and monosyllables when he's that smart and a scholar? Point to the character flaw. Talks down to anyone he believes is less intelligent than him.
Oh!
Yeah.
Love it.
And
It's good.
that will, being able to make characters like that will disappear.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so
Nothing is gained from this.
Yeah.
So I assume we all don't have an issue with them changing race to folk. There's
not
no
really.
issue there. Like
Yeah, because basically you're just changing a word.
you're changing a word to something that is more correct, which is fine.
Yes.
The things. Let's see. I have a few things here to look at.
Oh yeah. The final thing while you're looking that up, my face when I explained to the group that the big brutish barbarian was actually an astrologist the entire time, who thought the party was too stupid to communicate with in any meaningful way, compounded by the fact that without cause they treated him as nothing more than a big brutish barbarian.
Well done. Fucking slow clap on that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good.
Yeah, they're like,
yeah.
If you don't have a reason, here's the thing. With these new rules in place, if you decide, and if you have a DM, depending on your setting, if you have a DM that's like, okay, well, half orcs are kind of sort of outcasts, and that's usually how it is, because orcs are dangerous barbarians who live out in the wilderness, and they fucking raid and they kill, they steal,
depending on the setting.
They're the boys.
Yeah, they are the boys. Doing the boys will be boys.
I cannot wait for the SJW community to look at Warhammer 40k and just implode.
Oh, they already have. I assume.
But fucking Games Workshop don't give a shit.
No, they don't. Well, we'll talk about that,
somewhat.
I suppose.
Yeah. But anyway, so you play a half-orc, and half-orcs are typically outcasts. Here's the thing. With these new rules in place, you can play a half-orc however you want. You can make him that super intelligent barbarian astrologer or astrologer. You can play it that way, and you can have a really awesome character. But if everybody is the same, why would you?
There's no
preconceived notions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're not making anything unique.
Yeah,
because all the orcs are the fucking same.
It rids that character of anything that would have been special, like, oh, you're a smart orc. Okay, yeah, no, I'm a smart elf. Yeah, and I'm a smart dwarf.
Yeah. So why you're in taking away what makes a race unique, you're removing any ability to grow and change from it. Because if you make a race that's inherently like dumb, I don't know, let's not even use orcs. Let's use like bullywugs.
Sure.
The frog dudes. They're assholes. They're bastards. They live in swamps. They're really mean and they're really stupid. And I don't remember if they're in 5th. I think they're in 5th edition, but I don't know if they're a playable race in 5th edition. They might.
They don't have stats. No.
Okay,
but them.
I know that in 4th edition, the edition that never existed,
right? Of course.
In the edition that never existed, bullywugs were a playable race, and they were all really stupid. And I had this idea to have like a bullywug warlord, because warlord was a class in 4th edition, where it was like a tanky fighter who gave buffs to everybody. He was like the fighting. He was the leader, basically. And he was going to be this bullywug warlord who rose to be like the king of this shitty little swamp because he was the only smart one.
Oh, yeah, sure.
He was like one, like toads or frogs, they birth like hundreds of tadpoles at once. And he's like, I'm the only smart one that got born from like this huge clutch. And that's how I've survived and like gotten strong and shit. But if all the bullywugs are the same, then making a smart bullywug doesn't mean anything. Exactly. Because they can all be that smart. And you didn't overcome anything. You're not special.
The unfortunate reason behind them doing this is because of, as stated, racism and needing to make sure that people who are of a diverse, mostly, okay, well, I'll put it as it really is. If you're not white, you need to have something to look at to say this is including me as well. Which, as somebody who is not white fully, hey, I don't know about you, but I can look at white people or fucking elves or any of that stuff and pretend to be them. It's really so I don't what this was brought about in the beginning because of outcries from orcs being racist.
Yes.
We briefly touched on this once in a previous podcast.
I guess we got to go into it now.
Well, it's not. We don't have to go too far into it. Just to.
Well, I mean, in the article, it immediately goes, "We present orcs and drow in a new light."
Yes, and so I will in fact read you.
Drow don't like the light.
No, they don't. But I will read you how they present orcs and drow in the player's handbook.
Yes.
Because
wait, the player's handbook?
Yeah, the player's handbook.
Oh.
They have a little section on each. So for drow, descended from an earlier subrace of elves, the drow were banished from the surface world for following the goddess Lolth down the path of evil.
Yes.
Now they have built their own civilization in the depths of the Underdark, patterned after the way of Lolth. Also called dark elves, the drow have skin that resembles charcoal or obsidian, as well as stark white or pale yellow hair. They commonly have very pale eyes, so pale as to be mistaken for white, in shades of lilac, silver, pink, red, and blue. They tend to be smaller and thinner than most elves. Drow adventurers are rare. Check with your dungeon master to see if you can play one. And then further down, we have the darkness of the drow. Were it not for... And this is... Sorry, before I go on any further, this is on page 24 of your player's handbook. Excuse me. I apologize for not citing that earlier. Were it not for the renowned exception, the race of drow would be universally reviled. To most, they are a race of demon-worshipping marauders dwelling in the subterranean depths of the Underdark, emerging only on the blackest nights to pillage and slaughter the surface dwellers they despise. Their society is depraved and preoccupied with the favor of Lolth, their spider goddess, who sanctions murder and the extermination of entire families as noble houses vie for position. Yet one drow, at least, broke the mold in the world of the Forgotten Realms. Drizzt Do'Urden, Ranger of the North, has proven his quality as a good-hearted defender of the weak and innocent. Rejecting his heritage and adrift in a world that looks upon him with terror and loathing, Drizzt is a model for those few drow who follow in his footsteps, trying to find a life apart from the evil society of their Underdark homes. Drow grow up believing that surface-dwelling races are inferior, worthless except as slaves. Drow who develop a conscience or find it necessary to cooperate with members of other races find it hard to overcome that prejudice, especially when they are so often on the receiving end of hatred. That's Drow, right?
Yes.
That's how they describe
how they
them.
came to be.
Well, that's how they describe them in 5e. Now, remember, 5e is the fifth revision, and honestly, the 5th revision is all that matters in this context, right?
Yeah.
Because anything before this does not need to matter to you as a player, as a dungeon master for 5e, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can go back and be inspired by the past things, sure. There's nothing wrong with that. But
unless it's 4th edition.
Unless it's 4th edition. But the hypothetical, theoretical edition that never existed. But this is important to note that they, in fact, are like, but drow aren't always evil, right?
Yes.
Like, there's definitely, and it's been shown, there are definitely people that are just like, hey, drow. And the people up top are like, drow, fuck you, right?
Yeah.
And so they just go back, fuck you too, I hate you. And then they can try to work through that difference, which... They also set up the fact that they were led by Lolth. This isn't because of their, I guess, genetic predisposition or anything like that.
They weren't inherently that super evil.
They weren't. It was just they were banished because they were like, hey, Lolth, my girl.
It's like, hey, Corellin, you're a fuckface.
And like, this is a whole different issue. It's a religious issue. It's not a racial issue. It became a racial issue, I guess, because everyone who was under the ground was like, we kind of need to live. Hey, Lolth, my girl.
Let me live.
Right?
Which still astounds me, the fact that they would pray to Lolth to survive and not any other god or goddess.
I assume because Corellin banished them, Corellin doesn't give them any. Like, all the pantheon for everyone above was like, hey, guess what? Get fucked. You followed Lolth.
Not to mention, I imagine that once they got down there in the Underdark, it was kind of a situation where it's like, oh god, if we stop praying to Lolth, she's going to unleash her wrath on us.
There is also the fact that they are being held hostage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like Drow society has a lot of military power. I highly doubt that a few like phase spiders are really going to be an issue for
It's
them.
not the phase spiders, it's the fact that Lolth will literally transform them into Driders.
That too.
Driders.
I thought they only become Driders if they sacrifice themselves.
Nope.
No.
Driders are a punishment.
Yeah, Driders are punishments. It's not good. Everybody hates Driders, including Drow.
Yep. They only keep them around because it's like an example of what happens when you piss Lolth off. Or Lolth off.
Yes. And unfortunately, that's not specified. Like, they haven't gone too deeply into this kind of stuff in 5th edition, which does hurt this whole argument that I've been making so far. Because you have to look back, unfortunately. But they at least reference this, that like they at least reference it and have it be the reason why they are looked down upon, right? It's not because they're like they're inherently because they are dark-skinned or anything like that, right? It's just because of what the people did before, unfortunately, and they continue to do because it's the only thing they can do to survive. Which sucks, right? But again, that's more
Drow make the best edgelords.
This is more of a religious thing and not a race thing. It is bled over, unfortunately. But again, they even go, it's not inherent.
Yep,
they're not inherently evil.
And hell, they even give you that perfect example where they're like, Driz is an inspiration to all those Drow who followed in.
Exactly.
Followed in his footsteps. They flat out tell you, hey, they're rare, but there are Drow that have broken out of this cycle.
Exactly. Yep.
It's like, you can still say, oh, well, why are so many Drow evil? It's like, what motivation have they been given by the overworld who hates them to not be evil?
Exactly. Like, and again,
I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't.
Exactly.
I might as well. I'm not going to finish that sentence.
the evil that they do is just unfortunately how they live, and it's one of those things of morality. It's a question of morality. It's like, I have to sacrifice babies in order to live because otherwise I die. Right?
Yep.
Like, and so, yes, that is immoral, but what else are they supposed to do when a divine being that exists, right?
And hates them
Yeah,
a
and
lot.
hates them. Oh, Lolth fucking hates them. She tempted the fuck out of them, drove them down, and is like, hey, now fight.
Because you got to remember that Lolth, they might have worshipped Lolth in the past because of for an actual reason.
Sure.
But now they do it out of fear.
Yeah,
they do it out of terror.
Absolutely.
If they don't, they're dead.
And again, this is why I 5e needed context, right? Like they put out in past editions, they put out books specifically for context of gods. Deities and Demigods is the 3.5 edition book that I have that just specifically goes into how the gods are statted, all this shit of just like their beliefs and like how they usually show up and all this kind of stuff. And that helps with kind of forming that kind of or at least makes it so that you can see the views, right, of like how each god is worshipped and how they operate. So It, I don't know. It's not a race thing to me, and I don't see how. I mean, I do see how people do it because they don't have the context. But
admittedly, it is a bit fucky that they live in the Underdark and have charcoal gray skin.
The thing that I always imagine with that is their skin became that color so that they could better survive down there. Because honestly, I don't think a pale, pasty ass elf would last very long in the Underdark.
I don't know
where there is no light.
Well, there's enough light for everything else to see down there.
Well, everything has dark vision down there.
Yeah, it's because they have dark vision.
Yeah,
and so if you're a pasty ass, pale ass elf, you're a beacon.
That is fair.
That's the only, but again, that's my only theory.
Things in real life that live way deep down in caves are also white.
Mm-hmm. Because in the real world, things that live deep down in dark caves their eyes devolved, and there's no need to even see, so they just wind up being albino.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely the questionable. Like, again, I would need more of a source to then say they developed this skin in order to because I don't think that's ever expressly stated.
Yeah, I don't think it is. That's just my theory.
Absolutely.
I could be completely wrong.
Absolutely, right. and that's fine. It's one of those things where I have never looked at it as a malice kind of thing. It's definitely. Usually, right, in most fantasy, when something is evil, it is a darker color. It's represented that way, which they are technically the evil race, right, because of what they worship and what they do, right? Mm-hmm. It is unfortunate that is the case, but they have revised the race to such a point where they're like, hey... That's not always the case, and it's not inherent, right?
Yeah.
So it combats that. And again, at this point, I don't see it as anything short of this is just how the race is, right? Yeah. It's not literally because they're evil.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to orcs, we have some stuff in the player's handbook.
Here we go.
Well, it's not that much in the player's handbook, to be fair.
Weird.
Yeah, so here we go. Well, actually, it's a lot.
Okay, I was about to say.
So, whether united under the leadership, sorry, this is on page 40 of your player's handbook, and 41, because it goes for a while. Whether united under the leadership of a mighty warlock or having fought to a standstill after years of conflict, orc and human tribes sometimes form alliances, joining forces into a larger horde to the terror of civilized lands nearby. When these alliances are sealed by marriages, half-orcs are born. Some half-orcs rise to become proud chiefs of orc tribes, their human blood giving them the edge over their full-blooded orc rivals. Some venture into the world to prove their worth among humans and other more civilized races. Many of these become adventurers, achieving greatness from their mighty deeds and notoriety for their barbaric customs and savage fury. Then we've got just how they look, which doesn't matter in this case. How they like scars, because it's a matter of pride. There we go. The mark of Gruumsh. The one-eyed god Gruumsh created the orcs, and even those orcs who turn away from his worship can't fully escape his influence. The same is true of half-orcs, though their human blood moderates the impact of their orcish heritage. Some half-orcs hear the whispers of Gruumsh in their dreams, or Gruumsh, I don't know, calling them to unleash the rage that simmers within them. Others feel Gruumsh's exultation when they join in melee combat, and either exult along with him or shiver with fear and loathing. Half-orcs are not evil by nature, but evil does lurk within them, whether they embrace it or rebel against it. Beyond the rage of Gruumsh, half-orcs feel emotion powerfully. Rage doesn't just quicken their pulse, it makes their bodies burn. An insult stings like acid, and sadness saps their strength. but they laugh loudly and heartily, and simple bodily pleasures, feasting, drinking, wrestling, drumming, and wild dancing, fill their hearts with joy. They tend to be short-tempered and sometimes sullen, more inclined to action than contemplation, and to fighting than arguing. The most accomplished half-orcs are those with enough self-control to get by in a civilized land.
Yeah.
Tribes and slums. Half-orcs most often lived among orcs. Of the other races, humans are most likely to accept half-orcs, and half-orcs almost always live in human lands when not living among orc tribes. Whether proving themselves among rough barbarian tribes, or scrabbling to survive in the slums of larger cities, half-orcs get by on their physical might, their endurance, and their sheer determination they inherit, and the sheer determination they inherit from their human ancestry. One last bit here, grudging acceptance. Each half-orc finds a way to gain acceptance from those who hate orcs. Some are reserved, trying not to draw attention to themselves. A few demonstrate piety and good-heartedness as publicly as they can, whether or not such demonstrations are genuine. And some simply try to be so tough that others just avoid them. So,
that is something a lot of people unfortunately really do leave out of role-playing orcs is the fact that emotions for them are just always dialed to 11, both good and bad. They are not angy boys. They can be angy boys, but much like the Eldar in 40k,
right.
they are beacons of emotion.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I super dig the things that make them happy.
Yeah, and again,
you know,
this is all of the races in the player's handbook are not. You don't have to play them that way, right? Like,
yeah, you don't.
It's definitely one of those things where if you get inspiration from this and you want to play them that way, you definitely can. And you can play them against the grain as well. Like, I mean, they even put, and I did not read this at all ever. Right, because I made Yulon way before this.
Yeah, Yulon is super pious.
A few demonstrate piety and good-heartedness, and honestly, my inspiration for Yulon was from World of Warcraft. It was Thrall. Thrall, and anybody.
Green Jesus, yes.
Yep, Green Jesus. Anybody can see that from how fucking I played Yulon. If you ever do see that ever. But that's actually fucking weird. But anyway, this definitely, I mean, this has the race element, right?
Yes.
But this does not denote, and this is the argument that people were making, that this race denotes black people. Specifically.
It really doesn't.
And it doesn't. Unfortunately, I can understand that people see what they want to see.
Yep.
Which sucks. And it's not this one specifically. I believe it's the orc from Volo's guide, which I will pull up right here. There was a short blurb that was the tweet. I don't remember. It was from something. It was either from this or it was from... No, it wasn't from this. It was from Guildmaster's Guide, maybe? I don't know. I would have to look harder to find it. And I would have to find the tweet again. But they pointed out the language of the thing as being this is black people, right? Like they just went and they hardcore just were like, this means black people, which
one, that says a lot more about what you think about black people than what was just like host thinks of black people.
Exactly.
That's exactly actually what one of my players mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
The one who actually plays an orc barbarian.
Right.
I mentioned it to him, and he's like, "So why do they see them as black people?" And I'm like, "Well, it's because typically orcs are drawn." And they have some caricatures of blackface, namely having dreads as their hairstyle.
See, that's not even always the case.
Yeah, there are a lot of cultures that have dreads too.
Yeah.
And beads in their hair.
Not the case
and
in the player's handbook. for this.
another typical thing of blackface is oversized lips,
Yeah, that's true.
which orcs typically are drawn as having. I'll give them that, sure.
I'm looking.
but
I'm looking at the illustration that they have for the half orc in the player's handbook, and it doesn't seem that way. Page 40, if you want to look at it, but legitimately, it does not seem like she has very.
I don't think it's the one in the player's handbook. I think just typically,
in
like
general.
if you look up D&D orc
Sure.
in Google Images and then look through 100 images,
Sure.
you'll probably find like, I don't know, like a 70-30 ratio. I don't know. And when I mentioned this to my player, he's like, well, that just seems to me more that whenever they think of those aspects, they immediately think blackface.
Mhm.
And then that would seem to me that, aren't they racist? And I'm like, I think so.
Yeah. And again, I'm looking at a bunch of these pictures on screen right now, and I'm not seeing the lips drawn that way at all. Even in the fan art, right? Like, except maybe this one has, so they have the bigger bottom lip, for 40K at least, and a lot of that's it. Like, it's just a bigger draw.
Yeah,
that's what I see for orcs more so.
But the way I've always seen, like full-blooded orcs, not half orcs, obviously, because they look significantly more human. Sure. I've always kind of seen them as kind of sort of like Neanderthals, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they got like they're big, they're broad, they're brawny and shit. They got like the big heads and shit.
Well, that's how Lovecraft saw black people.
Well, and since I like Lovecraft, that means I'm a racist.
Yep,
automatically.
Automatically. So I like the other thing that I have to point out again. They have the god elements, right? Like they have these elements of this is the way that Grumpsh made them. Yeah. Right?
And he's an evil god.
He is, yes, but at the same time that doesn't matter, right? Like,
it's true.
It plenty of orcs are like, hey, I'm gonna not be so bad, right? And orcs typically aren't good, right? Like, even in like the Tolkien, right? Where fucking D&D fucking came from, right? Tolkien made this shit, and Tolkien was like, hey man, I don't give a fuck about allegory. Yeah, I hate allegory.
In fact, I
literally, you can look up so many interviews with Tolkien.
Yeah, and they're like, "Is this a Christian allegory?" And he's like, "No."
He's like, "No, I just wrote a fucking cool story. I don't fucking care about your stupid allegory. This is not what I intended." And yes, there is some death of the author, but at the time, and this is just about what's in the book, right? This is just straight up what's in the book. It's not writing about it after the fact like J.K. Rowling. It is quite literally, he looks at what he's wrote and he's gone, no, I never meant for this to look any other way. And this, unfortunately, is how people go and look into it, right? They look and they see meaning that they see, that they want to see, more likely as well, to fit whatever they wanted to ask him at the time of like allegory, right? And he's like, no. And so it's like there's also like this is one I understand, and I'm never gonna say racism good, racism bad, right? Racism bad.
This just in,
right?
Our
like
hot takes.
It's one of those things where I'm not defending having people be racist. I'm defending using racism to show how people are less moral, or to find a way to work around it, or to try to bridge the gap because of it, right?
And grow.
Use it as a tool. Yes, exactly. Use it as a tool to grow your characters, or your world, or your story. You don't just do it because racism, right? You don't do it for a good, like, you don't think it's a good reason. Like, you're not, or sorry, what I mean by that is you don't just put it in there because you like racism.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Put it in there because...
I have racism as part of my campaign.
Mhm.
Specifically, actually, the orc barbarian was subject to it a couple times.
Mhm.
And the reason why most people hate orcs is because typically they are violent, they are
Mhm.
loud,
Mhm.
they raid villages.
Yeah.
They may know someone who died or know someone whose family died to orcs.
Mhm.
And whenever they see it, there was this filthy pig farmer
Sure.
in the first city that they started with, and I remember his name was Arngus, and Arngus was a fucking asshole, and
Right.
he was meant to be an asshole, and he hated him some orcs, and
Mhm.
guess what? The party hated him right back.
Sure.
Um, and I remember actually the barbarian got kind of angry at
Sure.
Arngus, and he's like, "What's preventing me from killing me right? What's preventing me from killing? What's
Sorry.
preventing me from killing you right now?"
Mhm.
And Arngus went, "You'd prove me right."
It's true.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, that's that. See that it's putting that kind of moral, or not moral. I guess it is moral, a moral quandary in a way of like, are you going to take the higher ground? Are you going to be better than their perception to try to show them that? And is that going to even change the way that they view things, right? If you want to try to change that thing, then you continue to be that way towards like everyone, and hopefully it changes their viewpoint. It helps them grow from being racist. Like there is definitely one of those things of like, if you want it to, if you want to try to help, make that racism stop, maybe we do things to make the racism stop.
Be the not racist you wish to see in the world.
Like it's definitely one of those things where racism bad, but it's definitely useful to kind of
Provide depth.
yes, exactly. And unfortunately, there's racism in the fucking world that we live in, and so like using a fantasy setting in order to work through that, like it can make people have new perspectives on this kind of thing.
Let me ask our listeners a question. Sure. Directly to all of them. Ooh. Any of them that may be on the fence about this. Okay. What do you think you would find more interesting? Would you find it more interesting to play a human who starts out as a blacksmith's apprentice, and he's got lots of friends in the city, and he makes okay armor and weapons, and eventually his master has a weapon stolen from him. Very important weapon. You have to go out, you got to go and find it. You find it, and it turns out that this weapon was meant to save the world. You find the weapon, and you go on a quest around the kingdom, saving people, becoming a hero, and eventually you save the world. You return to the city, you're hailed as a hero, and how you live happily ever after. Or would you rather play an orc who is the apprentice of a blacksmith, and he has no friends? He's very lonely. He's very sad. And like we've said before, sadness is felt very, very acutely by orcs because they feel all emotions very, very acutely. And then your master has a sword stolen from him. You go out and you find the sword. Turns out it's a sword meant to save the world. You go around and you go to these towns, and people are like, "Who the hell are you?" "Well, I'm here to help." "You're an orc. You're here to help me?" "Yes." "Okay. Go out and do this for me, and maybe we'll talk a bit more." You go out and you do it. And then and then the people in the town, they're like, "Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. Please, take this reward." And then you go out and you do that a few times. You go around, you do quests, and you help people, and you become a hero. You go and you save the world. And then you return home to your city, and you're hailed as a hero when once you were downtrodden and no one liked you. But you went out and you proved everybody wrong. You rose above your station, and you overcame everyone's expectations about what it is to be a hero. I think I'd rather play the orc.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was very good.
Play an orc that has depression or bipolar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just be careful about which side of the bipolar you fall on. Because it's like, oh, well, here at the dinner party, we don't accept orcs. Oh, just kill everybody. That would suck.
There's definitely, like, and again, that unfortunately would come up to personal preference, right, as well. But like, it's one of those things where if you, it helps you kind of understand how that would be, right? And I think, and I've said this before, if you play any role-playing game, you will learn a lot about yourself. You will learn a lot about how you would deal with these kinds of situations, or how someone else you would imagine they would deal with this kind of situations, right? Or you could work through whatever kind of things that you've been doing, or that you've kind of had going on. If somebody uses something that kind of makes you realize that it kind of, excuse me. Sorry. It kind of coincides with what you've been going through, and then you kind of work through that to kind of give you a better sense of how to kind of work through it yourself. Role playing is a powerful thing. So, I know that, like, if you for some reason see orcs as black people, I gotta say, man, there are already black people in D&D.
Yeah, and there's already, and as an extension of that for Aiden specifically, there's already black people in Elder Scrolls too. They're the Red Guards.
Yep, there's that. Yeah. It's like legitimately like in the player's handbook itself, they have the fighter is black, the wizard is black. They're
the human is black.
Oh, sorry, not the fighter. The human. Yeah, that's what I meant. But legitimate. Oh no, the fighter is also black. That's right.
Yeah, the fighter's also black.
I forgot about that. Yeah. My brain didn't forget. Apparently, cool. Good job, brain. Legitimately, like they already have black people in D&D, and
a precedent has been set.
I don't.
And it's not even like they're just referred to. That's the image.
That
is the example image for the most basic of bitch classes. The one that everybody has played. Everybody.
It's like saying, well, that I can already tell that the response is, well, that's all well and good that there is black representation in D&D. However, the main issue that people take with orcs is the fact that they have aspects of their body and or perceived culture, I guess.
Right. So
that is a stereotype.
Right.
To which I respond with, all right then, I guess witches can't have long noses.
Yeah,
because
or brooms.
Well, long noses would be a Jewish stereotype.
Right, exactly.
So I guess we can't have that.
And brooms are an OCD stereotype.
Oh.
Yeah. And gnomes like money, so I guess they gotta go too.
Right.
Say no to gnomes.
And goblins.
It's one of those things where, how far does this, like, are you willing to go? Like,
until the homogeneity
of
the races is achieved, there can be no peace.
Unfortunately, we've already, like, lost this. Like, this is already happening, right? Because they're already doing that.
Yep.
And again, like we've said, it just completely takes away the uniqueness of your character. Like, it does not matter. And like, some people will find it as a good thing of, like, it doesn't matter what race you are, right? That is fine. You know, that is definitely a theme you can have already in the current game. Doesn't matter what race you are, just matters what you do.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, that's just
like,
life.
I take what race I select for my character to be important for 2, maybe 3 reasons, depending upon the character.
Mm-hmm.
The first reason is, are there any particular stat buffs that will complement the class I have chosen?
Yes.
That can be a little metagamey if you want. Personally, I think picking a race that complements a class isn't a huge deal.
No,
Yeah,
it's not
because it would make sense if it makes sense to roll up a Jewish banker.
Oh,
It
wow.
makes sense. It's an optimal build.
I'm pulling my collar.
It makes sense to play a lizard man politician.
Yes.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yep.
That's an even better one.
Yeah. No, but I like things that are naturally stronger make more sense to be a fighter class.
Yes, it makes sense.
Granted, I do have a couple characters for Goliath wizards.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Super
cool.
shaman, like it's a muscle wizard build where the way he casts spells is like chanting in a circle and like sprinkling bones on the ground and then casts fist.
Yeah.
The second reason why I take my character's race into account when I'm building a character is it can be a really fun way to add some flavor. Much like the muscle wizard thing. Like shamans aren't really represented a lot in D&D, which kind of sucks because voodoo and hoodoo are really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
The third reason, and this is the one that only ever is occasionally taken into account, is if I literally cannot make the character's playstyle without using that specific race.
Sure.
For instance, I have an idea for an attack heli character that is an Aarakocra. And
nice.
I need to be able to fly if I'm going to identify as an attack helicopter. So
it's a good time.
Now there's also one. Sorry, there's also one more thing that taking away the uniqueness of a race will do. If you make, well, let's just say for the sake of argument that orcs are basically all humans.
Sure.
And let's have two races, humans and orcs. Here's the problem. They are two different, and we're going to bring up the term that they have used. They are two different folks. So, if they are statistically the same, if they can be as intelligent as the other, which is fine, which is whatever, how are they different? Because they are intrinsically different. Because a human is fair-skinned, fair-haired, usually, and orcs are green-skinned and dark-haired, and they're usually pretty strong.
Are you telling me that your default for a human image is someone who's white, Boo?
You know what I mean. So
I think, you know what? I think I do.
Yeah, I think you do. So, but here's the thing, though. Nice. If you have that situation where everybody is the same, and you have a DM who's going to be world building, chances are he or she is gonna want them to be different somehow. So then, how are you,
dude? Unless you're playing a campaign of all doppelgangers.
Oh my god!
Oh, that'd be cool.
That would be fucked. Anyway, so like, how are you gonna?
Who anyone is? Oh man.
How are you gonna make them? How are you gonna make them stand out? If you choose to make them stand out, because it's either one, you remove all their individuality and you make them completely homogenous with humans, and then it doesn't matter who anybody is because nobody cares about who anybody is, or you're gonna insert your own uniqueness into it. So, what are you gonna do then?
Like I don't like. I'm fine with having it so that you take whatever bonus to your like get a bonus that you can just put anywhere, right?
Yeah.
But I think there should be a racial bonus as well, because I don't know, like, if let's use humans right now as an example. If we lived on Mars, right? If we lived on Mars, our entire body and structure and everything would be different.
Yes.
I
Gravity.
believe we'd be longer. I think.
Yeah, we would be longer, and our organs would rest differently.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And our
and I
bone
think
structure would be significantly weaker because it doesn't need to fight against gravity as much.
So
Yes.
that's
We would
that's my
basically
point.
have the osteoporosis of an 80-year-old menopausal woman.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if we had Mars people,
Martians,
Martians,
one might say.
one might say
God damn it.
Martians. Exactly. If we had Martians, then they would have less of a constitution, right? Like you wouldn't.
Yes.
You wouldn't.
They would take a -2 to Constitution.
I would even hazard to guess. Maybe they would, right? Like in comparison to somebody who lives on Earth who doesn't take a minus, that's just the standard, right?
Yeah, they just have like they don't have a plus. Yeah. Whereas the Saiyans have like a plus a billion.
Okay,
Constitution and strength.
Yes, I was trying to keep it to more of like a realistic ish.
I will actually follow.
Saiyans are real.
I will follow along with the groundwork set up by Alejo.
Thank you.
Take for instance,
Sorry. No, you're fine.
Take for instance, you have the Martians.
Yep.
And then on Earth, you have mega cities and then wide open, like continent-sized areas that are used for agriculture.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
People who live in those plains, one might call them plains folk, would likely not have access to as good education, which might be reflected in a -2 to intelligence. However, due to the fact of the past, let's say, couple hundred years of them doing hard work, their parents doing hard work, the people who move to these areas and stay in this lifestyle are people who are physically bulkier and can handle that grueling labor. You might get a +2, but a -2 to intelligence.
Right, exactly.
Sorry, +2 to strength, -2 to intelligence.
Yeah.
And
intelligence is the dump stat. It's fine.
If you live in mega cities, these giant conglomerates where you can have a whole city's worth of development in a whole modern city's development within a modern city's square block.
It's like in arcology.
Yeah. Or if you're playing Cyberpunk 2077 Night City.
Hell yeah.
You might have access to better education and some street smarts,
and some better cyber.
Yeah. +2 to intelligence and wisdom, -2 to strength.
Sure. Yeah.
Most of your labor is done for you by machines.
Exactly.
You don't have to be strong.
Yeah.
So basically what we're getting at here is that there's definitely a precedent of kind of evolution, right? Like different things, different factors over time make things different, right? Like if I were
one might also be forgiven for saying survival of the fittest
and adaptation,
quite literally. And so like if you go, and we'll even go for animals, if you go and take something that lives far deep in the ocean, that thing is fucking strong.
Yeah, like
or sorry, hardy.
Yeah,
more
Cthulhu.
so. Sure, yeah, you take Cthulhu. He's really fucking hardy.
No. Elder things.
Okay, you take Elder things.
Yes.
They live in Antarctica.
But they also lived under the ocean.
Yeah, that's true. But they are...
And in the stars.
And in the stars, and in our hearts. So they...
in our thoughts and prayers. Wait, no.
Wait. They would be incredibly hardy, right? Like that is quite different from something that is say, I don't know, living on the earth itself. They're not going to be
like a
hardy.
dayfly.
Like a dayfly, sure.
Counterpoint blobfish. And anglerfish.
True.
And again, there are going to be exceptions to this, obviously.
Yes.
And that's why there is going to be variance. That's why things are unique. That's why you can take something like that and go, this is how this is, and it's different, right? And so let's now take this back to our fantasy setting, right? Like, you have Aarakocra that are birds that live up high in the, and Kenku that live on the ground because they can't fly, and they have different stats because of this. Like, otherwise, like just because it's because of how they have evolved / what has happened to them, because Kenku were made to be the way that they are because of a curse. But still, there are things that differentiate these people, right? Like, they don't have the same thing, and if you take that away, then I don't understand how, when I look at an Aarakocra, how the fuck is that different than a Kenku? How did that happen?
The thing is, for me too, is this D&D 6th edition will be the biggest fucking nerf to Aarakocra ever.
Oh yeah.
Because they're not going to be able to fly anymore, but it will be the biggest buff to every other race, because you can have a gnome that flies now.
I was gonna say, yeah. Well, what if they do take away that stuff, right? Like, if they take away flight for Aarakocra, they're just a human, right?
They're just a bird guy.
If they keep flight, that's just like, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah,
the differentiation is there.
What you'll have, right, is people saying, like, say they choose to keep it so that Kenku cannot speak, right?
Right.
Kenku are typically portrayed as birds of the family Corvidae.
Yep.
And a racist slur for black people traditionally was calling them various members of that family.
Yes.
Be it crows, ravens, magpies, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Then people will say, well, the reason why Kenku can't speak is because the man keeps them from speaking out.
Oh my god. So, let me interject here.
Sure.
I just need to use the restroom, but you guys go ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's take a short intermission. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
I'll just get more water and shit. We'll be right back, folks. Welcome back.
What's up, gamers?
Oh god, no. Oh, hello. Okay. So we've been going on about the changes to races and stuff. There's points that I want to get to here that they have put in of the first point that they actually bring up. We present orcs and drow in a new light in two of our most recent books. Eberron Rising from the Last War, which I have right here, which I will refer to soon, and Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. In those books, orcs and drow are just as morally and culturally complex as other people. We will continue that approach in future books, portraying all the peoples of D&D in relatable ways, and making it clear that they are as free as humans to decide who they are and what they do.
They already were.
Were. Now, first off, they bring up...
You know why people are so mad about racial depictions in D&D 5e?
Why?
It's because they don't read their player's handbook.
It's true.
Yep.
It's very true. It's because, well, I honestly think a majority of the people who are vocal about this haven't even picked up a player's handbook.
Yeah, they've probably never played the game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let alone a D20.
Exactly, right? Like, it's unfortunate because I honestly think that that's the case. And if you can prove me wrong out there, hey, go for it. So to just deconstruct this entire point, they're citing these books that are written by other people, right?
Yeah.
Eberron Rising from the Last War, I looked it up, and I have the Wikipedia page, which I don't care if you think Wikipedia is a good source or not. It's a source, and it's fucking good. It's fine.
People are like, oh, you can't use Wikipedia as a source. I'm like, shut up. We're not in 1998 anymore.
Yeah, people like don't just go in and change things, and they don't just change it back, right? Like,
there are people who literally obsess over keeping pages correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Eberron came in 3.5 originally and was written by Keith Baker, Bill Slavicsek, yeah, and James Wyatt. I apologize if I pronounced it wrong. These were written by completely different people, and then they were added into D&D, right?
Yeah.
This was the first publication that was then just kind of brought into the fold. Yeah. Explorer's Guide to Wildmount was Matt Mercer and I think a couple of no, not critical. It was just Matt Mercer and a couple other people. I think.
Okay.
You know what? I'll look it up. Explorers Guide to Wildmount writers.
Why does it have an E?
A lot of things used to have E's.
Yeah.
Matt Mercer and the Wizards RPG team. Okay, so that one less so. There you go. Wizards actually did help with writing that, but Matt had already had the foundation of everything that is in Wildmount already written out. So I don't think that they put too much creative input into how the thing is. They might have, but I don't know.
Smooth things out for like publishing purposes and anything that Matt might have missed. And I call him Matt because he is my friend.
Of course, because he is
but
a friend.
He pretty much wrote out the entire setting to begin with.
And you can see that because he has it as Critical Role Campaign 2. Like, that is his world. He already has it all, well, not all written out, but he has the ideas already there, right? He has the society and everything, and this was before the thing even became a campaign guide. So that's second party, and even so, yes, they definitely say different things. They have, in fact, and I will read it verbatim from 3.5. The Drow in Eberron, it says, the Drow carve a deadly existence out of the ruined continent of Zendrick. The dark-skinned elves believe it is they, not the rebels who fled to Arenal, who truly preserve the dignity and valor of the elf race. Allied with monstrous scorpions, the Drow battle the fallen race of giants over the ruins of the monstrous continent. As the most civilized inhabitants of the ruined Zendrick, the Drow are the heirs to both the lingering might of giant nations and the ancient elven spellcraft once learned at the feet of dragons. The homeland of the Drow is a contradiction of sorts, an ancient ruin, but that nonetheless holds magical treasures of almost unimaginable might. As Siberia's shards fall on the broken landscape and jungles, explorers from other continents brave Sahagin-filled waters to crowd the port city of Stormreach. And then it has lands and beliefs, and in Eberron, the Rising from the Last War, it is very, very similar. Not changed whatsoever, really. Let me see here. Long ago, the continent of Zendrick, the first Drow fought beside the giants against the other elves. Tens of thousands of years have passed, and Drow and other elves remember each other only as figures in their legends. The Undying Court and the patron ancestors of the Ternadal remember the Drow, but they have little occasion to teach their living descendants about these shadows of the distant past. About the fleeing, there's distinct Drow cultures formed after the fall of the giants. Now looking into this, few political struggles for the 3.5, and rivalries with other races. They have beliefs here. They have relations. Okay, so they didn't have, it looks to be, they didn't have as much on the culture itself. Though this is just the Races of Eberron book that I'm reading from 3.5. Whereas in the Rising from the Last War, that is page 22, in Rising from the Last War. So, yeah, I mean, they had a different history, right? Like, this is different because it's a different setting. And so they wanted it to be original. And so they made it their own thing, right?
Huh.
But now I bring to you, as I drop all of my books, Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, which is Faerun. And it has a thing on Drow. Dark Elves, Drow. The Drow are descended from the Dark Elves who retreated into the Underdark after the Crown Wars. They are infamous for their cruelty, evilness, and drive to dominate. For much of history, many believed that all Drow were beings of inherent and irredeemable evil. In truth, most Drow do align with evil, engaging in torture, slavery, murder, and other nefarious activities in the name of their demon goddess. Almost always, Dark Elves who reject the ways of their people are exiled or executed for being rebels, heretics, and insurrectionists who have turned against drow culture and the will of Lolth. But the existence of noble and self-sacrificing drow, such as Lyriel Bainri and Drizzt Duorden, suggests that the evil of the drow isn't innate and can be overcome. The actions of these few heroic drow have tempered some people's opinions toward the race, although the appearance of a dark elf on the surface remains a rare event and a cause for alarm. It continues to go on about drow of Faerun hail from City of Spiders. It just continues to go on a little bit. Yes, Menzoberranzan.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
I remember that from the book, sorry.
yeah, no, it's good.
Just remember, Matt Mercer has drow that live in the Underdark and are evil. And hence, Matt Mercer must be racist.
Exactly, right? Like, in Campaign 2, and unfortunately spoilers, but it is a point here to recognize the drow are a different culture that live in the Underdark, but they are opposing to the Empire. They have their own belief system. They have a different god as well.
Oh, interesting.
They believe in a whole different thing of eternity and such. And the Luxon, I believe they refer to it as. And they themselves are not great, but neither is the Empire. In that place, it's morally dubious.
Really, yeah. They just happen to be in conflict with each other, and the party starts out in the Empire.
Exactly. So they're looked at as evil for a long while, and then they're...
Of course, blowing up towers in the middle of a city is not a great look.
It's not a great look. But they have their reasons and such. But it's not necessarily morally right. You know, they again, both sides have their bad eggs, I guess. But so do the ones in Faerun, the ones in Eberron. Like they all are like this, and it's even expressly stated.
Yeah.
And this is the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. It's a small book that I don't know how many people picked up, but it has a few different backgrounds and such, and it's nice to have for Faerun if you really want to know more about Faerun.
Because there's totally not enough information on fucking Faerun, is there?
no, not at all. Obviously,
never shut the fuck up about Faerun.
But this is the up to date version, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they have things for orcs here too. Like see if I can find for half orcs a version. Literally, blood will tell. Half-orcs ultimately owe their plight to the deity Grumsh, the creator of the orcs. First line.
Second line. Turns out they're black people. Lol.
Right. Legend has it that when Grumsh discovered all territories of the world had been claimed by other races, he swore the orcs would avenge themselves by taking what they wanted by force. Their great orc hordes continue to do just that today, appearing periodically from out of the wilderness to raid and scavenge.
Some call them Waz.
Nice. Good.
Remind me later, Alejo, I have a point to make to you about Waz.
Okay, sure. So as I continue to look at this, it's just let me see if they say anything about like half-orcs also decide who they are, because they did that for Drow.
Yep.
Seen as off-putting and intimidating by other people, which is both a blessing and a curse. Targets of discrimination or outright attacks from those who feel threatened by them. Prejudice against the race makes half-orcs slow to trust even those who show them courtesy, because they all have stories of when they were tricked by such behavior. They're like half-orcs. They usually find themselves defined by others in terms of their usefulness as heavy laborers and soldiers. It is rare and fortunate few who are judged by their character and their deeds rather than their ancestry. So it's still pretty, like, it's still a thing. I don't know. Like, I don't. How is that not relatable? Because quite clearly in this point it says, we will continue that approach in future books, portraying all the peoples of D&D in relatable ways, and making it clear that they are as free as humans to decide who they are and what they do. How is that not the case already?
But I counter that point
Sure.
with big noses,
Okay.
dreads, and big lips.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Mm.
All right. Racism. Gotcha.
Yes. Honestly, all these things really, like all the complaints,
Right.
they really seem like, now that you've actually dove into the books and the actual canon way that the creators have described these races, it really seems like they're coming from people who literally just look at a picture and say, "Oh, that looks racist to me."
Right? Like that is,
and that's it.
That's it. That's all that I can tell. Unfortunately, as well, because of this vocal, I assume it's a minority. I don't know. I don't know how many people this is affected, but many people I have seen who have been playing D&D are like, this is silly. Like, why are you doing this?
The only people I've seen actually complaining about Orc's portrayal in D&D 5e have been the people with Twitter profiles that look exactly like how you'd expect them to.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. And so, unfortunately, and the second point says they're going to reprint a bunch of books to fix a variety of things, including errors in judgment. In recent reprintings of Tomb of Annihilation and Curse of Strahd, for example, we've changed the text that was racially insensitive. And this is a point for Curse of Strahd, at least, because they say the Vishanti, or, sorry, I don't think that's... Vistani, thank you. I don't know why I keep pronouncing it that way, but...
it's how we pronounced it in our campaign.
I know, yeah, and I never pronounced it right. Anyway, so the Vistani... they are portrayed as gypsy-like, right? And apparently, portraying people that are gypsy-like is just bad, right?
It's that they had some negative stereotypes of Romani culture, which no, I don't remember them having anything like that in our campaign.
I would, because they were just another people.
Yeah,
right?
they were a people that were wandering and had been oppressed by like people around them.
Yep.
Yeah.
But one of the things
They were
that
driven
you could
out
do in the campaign was that you could help them.
Yes, that is legitimately something that you can do in Curse of Strahd. Like, or at least in the campaign that we played for Expedition, because I haven't read Curse of Strahd itself. But Expedition to Castle Ravenloft was the 3.5 version that came before, and in that, one of the fortune teller, who I don't remember her name, it's Madam something. She is part of the and I have to look at this every time now. Vistani, she's part of them. And if you are like helpful to them, then she helps you like figure out how to defeat Strahd, right? Like they themselves are unfortunately cast out by the culture that is in Barovia, just because of the unfortunate like viewpoint that they have on them. And
Why do the people dislike them again?
I can't remember, honestly. I would have to look at it again. And this might be a point for this portrayal, or it could be against it. I don't know. Somebody else with more knowledge will have to enlighten us about this, because I can't remember it. And if it is because they are just looked upon as untrustworthy or all that kind of stuff, then
fuck off.
Like, yeah, it's unfortunate that is the way that it is, right? but I don't know. Like, could you? I would make the argument that you could replace that with a group of goblins, right? Like, you could just replace it with a group of, I don't know, humans, just regular humans. Like, they don't have to be called something.
If your biggest justification for why a race or a group of people needs to be fixed in an edition of D&D is because they are downtrodden, then bud, like, you need to find something better to do with your time. Go complain about syrup bottles.
Exactly. Yeah. Even humans among other humans are downtrodden. Like, there's like, and they are human themselves, yes, but like, I'm just saying in general for D&D, like, I assume there are many races that, like, all the humans aren't even under one race. They're all different races, right?
They are not a monolith.
They're not. It's literally, I can even look to see in the fucking Sword Coast Adventurers Guide right here. Races of the Realm. Let's see if they have. They do! Human ethnicities in Faerun. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10. There are 10 of them. And they all, let's see. They all have different languages, and like, some of them were cavorting with demons, some of them were like, they're all going to be different, and I assume that some of them are going to look down upon others, right? Like, and they're going to, I don't know, oppress them or something. Like, be like, it's not just one race.
if your biggest justification is for, oh, the Vistani are horrible racist caricatures of Romani people because the Vistani may steal from the party, right?
Right.
What reason have the Vistani to trust the party?
Exactly.
What reason have the Vistani to assume that the party is not another group of shitheels who are looking to probably try to rip them off? Why shouldn't they try to feed their families?
It's like, and I understand if you're just like maybe everybody should be nicer to each other. Well, then fucking yeah, that's not how the world is.
Yeah.
Everyone should be nicer to each other. I agree. But it's kind of like getting a relationship between people and building trust and like actually, I don't know, interacting with them in a meaningful way.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
Right?
And having looked into Tomb of Annihilation from what little I got from a stream, not a stream, a series that I watched, that was a stream, but I don't know what the fuck they're reprinting in that. I don't know, man. There's just a bunch of people in a city that like race dinosaurs sometimes.
Ooh, that's cool.
It's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is that's the problem there, but somebody please enlighten me what the problem is, because I can't see it. Okay. Let's see. So the next point here. Well, let me finish this point off here first. Those reprints have already been printed and will be available in the months ahead. Great, you're gonna remove everything. Cool. We will continue this process, reviewing each book as it comes up for a reprint and fixing such errors where they are present. So they're just gonna go through and do this for everything.
Yeah,
cool.
Of course.
Later this year, we will release a product, not yet announced, that offers a way for a player to customize their character's origin, including the option to change the ability score increases that come from being an elf, a dwarf, or one of D&D's many other playable folk. This option emphasizes that each person in the game is an individual, with capabilities all their own. We've already...
When you did that, when you like burped there, and just like it just sounded like you were starting to put on a voice for him.
We've already gone over this, right?
Yes, it's because it's just really if you absolutely have to do this, just talk to your DM.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can already do this.
Yeah. You don't need a rule book to tell you, hey, my orc grew up in a human city. Can he be a bit smarter? Sure.
Exactly. We went over this with gender before, right?
Yeah.
Like with the pronouns and stuff in the player's handbook, it going like, it doesn't matter what they are, they can refer to themselves as whatever. It's like, you don't need the book to tell you that.
I was actually looking up earlier that quote about for later on when we talk about the Geek Girl Con or something.
Yeah.
And they talk about how D&D is not supposed to be just for guys, and it's like, it never was.
It never was.
Throwback to the 1989 book of D&D second edition, where it says centuries of use have neutered the male pronoun. We hope that by the use of the word he in our book, it is not meant to. Oh fuck! Hold on.
Yeah, it was never meant to denote like specifically maleness or the exclusivity of femininity. It was just used as a word to...
It got the point across.
Yeah, just to basically just complete a sentence properly.
Exactly. Like,
it's, here it is. The male pronoun he, him, his is used exclusively throughout the second edition of the AD&D game rules. We hope this won't be construed by anyone to be an attempt to exclude females from the game or imply their exclusion. Centuries of use have neutered the male pronoun. In written material, it is clear, concise, and familiar. Nothing else is.
Exactly. Like, even back in fucking second edition, it's
when
always...
When was second edition released?
1989.
Yeah, 89. There you go. Back in 89, like, I don't care what Gygax did most of the time. He made a thing that became a bigger thing, right? Like, great, good.
Gygax actually in first edition did have maximum strength scores for female be lower than male.
It's true. It was because he had a lot more realism, quote unquote, right?
Yes. There's a quote that says, "As for the actual difference between males and females, I am quite comfortable with the limits I placed in the book. Unless steroids are taken into account, males have some 30% more muscle mass." IIRR, I don't know what that is. I think maybe if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that
should be a C. And they are taller and heavier than females. All of that matters in combat.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I understand. Okay, so I understand equality. I'm gonna go here for a second.
Yeah.
But you cannot deny that there are physical characteristics because of genetics.
Yes.
That are present between
because
males.
Of phenotype.
Yes, males and females. Right?
Yes.
Like, and there are exceptions. Absolutely.
For those of you who have not heard of the birds and the bees, boys are different than girls.
It's true.
Yes.
And so
boys say fuck a lot more usually.
They do.
On their podcasts specifically.
Which we haven't been doing so much, actually, I've noticed. Because we're...
Fuck!
It's mostly because we're not getting fucking riled up.
Yeah, right?
Anyway. So, like, I'm not saying that there are, like, women can't do something better, right? That's not what's being said. It's just that there is genetic and scientific evidence.
There's a hilarious bit about, it was some guy who was talking about how he's like, a woman could never fight in combat. And he's like, a sword weighs like 6 to 10 pounds. A woman would never be able to swing that.
Oh, I think I remember that. Yeah.
And everyone's like, dude, a sword weighs 2 to 3 pounds. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
A woman can fight in combat, dude.
Hell yeah, exactly. Hell yeah. Everyone.
Have you never heard of Réponse de Lyonnaise? Come on.
Yeah, exactly, dude. No, legitimately, like, it's insane to think that there isn't a precedent there, right?
Yeah.
And, like, again, yes, fucking, there's a lot of women who can do things way better than men, or equally as such. Like, I am fucking weak. I am so weak. I can barely do 10 push-ups without hurting, right?
Yeah, man.
Like,
man, when I do
I'm
dishes,
bad.
my back really hurts.
Yeah, dude, when I stand for too long, it's bad. I am not healthy. So,
I remember one time moving boxes with a friend of mine, and I was like, I wanted to set up a chain because we were unloading boxes from a truck to a house, and I was just like throwing the boxes to him because like there was nothing inside it that was gonna break or anything, and I'm like, come on, let's get this done. And I throw a box of I think it was like sweaters and stuff in it. It was not a heavy. The box maybe weighed like 15 pounds.
sure.
And I just like I tossed it to him. I grabbed the next one, and I look as like in time as he grabs the box, and then it just like drops out of his hands. He's like, "That's fucking heavy." I'm like, "It's
Really?
It's sweaters."
Yeah, no, dude.
That's me.
There are people. The other thing that happens with me is like when I'm working at the grocery store and they're like, "Oh, these bags are heavy." No, it's not.
No,
It's like a gallon of milk. That's
You're
it.
just
I'm like,
weak.
yeah, you're just
like,
You're weak, and your bloodline is weak.
so like, it's a thing.
yeah, it's a thing.
And so like, I don't know. It's just ugh.
No matter how much you don't want it to be a thing, it's a thing.
But again,
Like, women are perfectly capable in combat. I
Absolutely.
can't believe I have to fucking say this.
right.
But I can't deny the fact that a lot of women that I fought when I took karate, I had the advantage of typically longer arms,
Yes.
longer legs,
Sure.
more mass to throw around.
Yes.
Like, weight classes are a thing in
That's-
wrestling
For a reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's the Godzilla versus Gamera thing. Gamera weighs 10,000 tons. Godzilla weighs 90,000 tons.
Yep.
So
It's insane.
have fun.
It's like it's just anyway. I forgot what my original point was, I'll be honest. Fuck me.
You initially had mentioned gender, and then I went on a tangent talking about how diversity is not meant to be implied in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was
Exclusivity is not meant to be
Thank you.
implied.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say diversity. Wait.
Diversity is not implied in Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, it's explicitly stated.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And
But we're going on. You were going on about how Gary Gygax had lower stats for females,
right.
strength stats for
Yes.
females.
Sorry. Yeah, and then after that, they were like, "It doesn't." We're just saying it doesn't matter, and like at this point, it doesn't matter at all. It never.
Yeah,
did,
and how
really.
we were going on about how that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's fine. And like, and at this point, it's fine. You're male or female, doesn't matter. You can have the same stats. I don't care.
Yeah, I personally prefer having male and female at the same stats.
Absolutely. I think it's much better, and I'm glad they amended it, and they've amended a lot since fucking first edition.
Yeah.
Right? Like, anyway.
Yeah.
So, playable folk, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Curse of Strahd included people known as Vistani, and featured the Vistani heroine Esmeralda. Sorry. Yeah, no, that's right. Anyway, regrettably, their depiction echoes some stereotypes associated with the Romani people in the real world. To rectify that, we've not only made changes to Curse of Strahd, but in 2 upcoming books, we will also show, working with a Romani consultant, the Vistani in a way that doesn't rely on reductive tropes. Okay.
I would love if they actually mentioned what tropes they actually made.
I would very much like the context, yes, because I do not know it. But if there is, and if you, so this implies that they intended for this, right? Is that not fucked up that because they're like, oh shit, well now we have to get a Romani consultant in order to change this because this was what was intended from the beginning. It's a little fucked up.
It's all fucked.
I don't know about that. I would have to ask whoever wrote the original story.
I
Right.
like the idea of Vistani as sympathetic.
Yeah, no, I am super for like helping the downtrodden, because then like it's super rewarding, because one, they were downtrodden, and like once you help them out, then they're just like, fuck, you're pretty cool, you can hang out with us anytime. It's like, yeah, dude, sick, right? But also, like, I don't know, it just, and in the game specifically, it provides you with information you otherwise wouldn't get, right? Like, and a powerful-ish ally. Actually, no, she's pretty powerful. Anyway, so next point. We've received valuable insights from sensitivity readers on 2 of our recent books. We are incorporating sensitivity readers into our creative process, and we will
Is it even worth debating?
We will continue to reach out to experts in various fields to help us identify our blind spots.
Don't you ignore me.
Like, what?
Yeah, like
who are these experts and what do they do?
I like how they don't cite their sources.
They don't tell you what the expert is an expert in. Like, they're just very broad. Experts. They could just not be doing that.
They are
right?
influencers,
right?
Oh.
It's fucking like, I am fine with you making things more sensitive, but at the same time, what needs to be made more sensitive, right? Like, everything that we've covered so far, any of that shit you can change for better or worse in your own game.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can do whatever the fuck you want in D&D. Whatever the fuck you want. Whatever story you want, and I will cite the DMG.
Oh!
The Dungeon Master's Guide.
The Guide
itself.
of Dungeon Masters.
This is on page 4 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. Did you not make it this far? I don't know.
Probably not. I did.
I'll just read 2 paragraphs.
Okay, that looks hilarious.
What?
Sorry.
Oh.
I'll tell you later.
Okay. How to use this book. This book is organized into 3 parts. The first part helps you decide what kind of campaign you'd like to run. The second part helps you create the adventures, the stories that will compose the campaign and keep the players entertained from one game session to the next. The last part helps you adjudicate the rules of the game and modify them to suit the style of your campaign. Part 1, Master of Worlds. Every DM is the creator of his or her own campaign world. Whether you invent a world, adapt a world from a favorite movie or novel, or use a published setting for the D&D game, you make that world your own over the course of a campaign. Even before that, you make it your own.
I want to run a campaign set in the world of Georgia the Jungle.
Okay.
I want extra racism.
Okay. Let's do it. It is quite clearly here in one of the core books.
The core book, like, pretty much.
I would say the PHB is the core book. You don't need this, right? You don't.
Yeah,
need
that's
the
true.
DMG.
You know what? That's right. I'm thinking of like the Cthulhu Keeper Guide.
Yeah,
you can run a whole game out of the Keeper's Guide.
That you need, absolutely. Yeah. But this, you don't. It's a bunch of suggestions.
It's one of the 3 holy trinity of D&D.
It even says this helps you. It doesn't tell you. It helps you.
Yeah.
Right? They use specific wording here to let you know that this is a useful guide.
Yeah.
Because it's a guide!
Yeah, like all throughout the whole DMG and most of the DMGs in pretty much, not only in D&D, pretty much any TTRPG will tell you these are suggestions.
Yeah.
Run it how you want.
Yeah.
This is your game to run however you want. If you don't want it to be in there, don't have it in there. And hell, that's one of the things that is pointed out explicitly in the Call of Cthulhu Keeper's Handbook, where it talks about the racism of the 20s, because the 20s is like the the typical setting for Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
It has this whole setting, or this whole paragraph, like multiple paragraphs on the racism of the time and how it can be very upsetting to players. And if you don't want to have that, don't have that.
Exactly.
Talk to your players. Do you want it? No? Okay. Don't choose how you want to run the game.
Exactly. Like it is heavily like I stated, because this doesn't have that. It has that the I guess the trope is there of like orcs bad, because usually in most fantasy orc bad, right? Yeah. But it's not orc is black so bad, right? Like that's not what it's saying. It's just saying that this race is more tended to evil, unfortunately. But there are those who rise above it, as is stated in Drows, as orcs become, like, they have half-orcs, but they also have the savagery, so they have to fight that. Like,
and hell, even when they're talking about how orcs are predispositioned to violence, they don't even say orcs are predispositioned to violence because they're orcs. They say
it's because of Grumsh.
Because of Grumsh.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
so it's not even them, it's their god.
Exactly. Like, that whole element of the deity is just missing from these arguments. I don't, like, you fucking take it up with God, dude. Like,
yeah, right? Hell, like, you know what would be a really interesting campaign, actually, now that I think about it? It would be a really interesting campaign where the entire party is orcs or half-orcs, and they're like, man, I grew up being an asshole, but I'm now a nice guy. I don't want everybody else to be an asshole. Let's go kill Grumsh and free the orc race from his like violent tendencies.
Yeah, sure.
And that way we can become better people. Yeah. That would actually be more super accepted. Cool.
Yeah. And again, that takes the racism that's there against them.
Yeah.
And you use it to grow. You go against it. You're like, nah, fuck it. I don't want this shit anymore. Yeah, I want to help my people.
I don't want to be a bad.
No, I don't want to be looked at as a bad. I want everybody to look at me as a good dude.
Yeah.
Right?
Green usually means good, but not in my case, and I don't like that.
Exactly. Like, and then it becomes a race thing, but it's not because they're black people.
Yeah. It's because they're green people.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally different.
And then you can get the goblins on your side, and they like make you all your cool shit.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
You get the goblins, the trolls,
you get the
gather the boys,
hobgoblins, and you make a wall.
Bugbears,
against Grumsh.
And then you got fucking Gork and Mork at your back.
Hell yeah. I'm into it.
That'd be super good.
A D&D campaign wherein you slay the D&D gods and replace them with the Warhammer ones.
That would be super sweet.
Cool. Anyway, so
replace all the thing gods with great horned rat.
Exactly, dude.
Sorry.
Like, no,
I can never help it.
Absolutely, it's fine. So thank you, sensitivity readers. Really helpful.
Yay.
Thank you. Last point. We're proactively seeking new, diverse talent to join our staff and our pool of freelance writers and artists. We've brought in contributors who reflect the beautiful diversity of the D&D community to work on books coming out in 2021. We're going to invest even more in this approach and add a broad range of new voices to join the chorus of D&D storytelling. That's fine.
I can interpret that already, actually.
Yeah.
We brand.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to your continued giving of us money. So we hired off like 5 extra people so that 50 extra people would buy our books.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look at me. It is brand. I am relatable. I am now speaking out about racism because it is popular.
Exactly.
Silence, brand.
Exactly. Like, legitimately, on the surface, yeah, good. But if you think about it, it's just brand says we did bad when they didn't do that bad, but they want to look good, so they go and they.
It's virtue signaling.
It is. It is just virtue signaling, and it sucks because, like, okay, great. I never thought that you guys had any like. I never thought that there were not that many diverse people in your workforce. I've seen Jeremy Crawford, who is a white guy, I guess, and like one other guy I think who is also white. I've not seen your whole team, and I don't care to. Like, I don't care.
Wow, that sounds racist.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing. I don't give a fuck what race they are. If they're making good content, then I'll fucking buy it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter who's behind the pen. It does not matter.
If the pen is creating useful or cool shit,
exactly,
then I'll buy it. And then I'll systematically change all the shit that I don't like about it.
Fuck it. Who cares?
Have I ever told you guys about the big to-do in Cyberpunk 2077?
Oh, I'd love to know.
With racism.
No.
And the fact that one of the street gangs is called the Animals, and they're Haitians.
Okay.
And they're like, Cyberpunk 2077 is racist. We need to cancel it. And Mike Pondsmith, the lead developer of the game, is black.
Oh, like it's just like I hate this PC culture that is just becoming so like it does not want to stop at any point. It just wants to keep going and going and going and going until everything is bland.
Here we go. In the E3 demo, the Animals are a gang who operate in a slum area of Night City and appear to be primarily composed of people of color. Pondsmith responded, "If I wasn't heavily involved, I would be able to get more done. As it is, I barely have a life. As for the Animals, the whole freaking point is that they think of themselves as powerful, dangerous, wild animals. You would have thought the lady named Sasquatch would have given them a clue." Pondsmith wrote, "The original Voodoo Boys were a scathing commentary on cultural appropriation. I love the idea that real practitioners of Voodoo moved in and took back their turf, and they even got the Creole right. Who the redacted do you think you are to tell me whether or not my creation was done right or not?"
Exactly. It's like this, and I'll read the very end here, and we will continue to listen to you all. We created 5th edition in conversation with the D&D community. It's a conversation that continues to this day. That's at the heart of our work, listening to the community, learning what brings you joy, and doing everything we can to provide it in every one of our books. This part of our work will never end. We know that every day someone finds the courage to voice their truth, and we're here to listen. We are eternally grateful for the ongoing dialogue with the D&D community, and we look forward to continuing to improve D&D for generations to come. Great, cool. Again, like, it's crazy. It's
yeah.
Give me just a second.
Okay.
So, Boo. How do you feel being a practitioner of a racist game?
Which game are you talking about? The devil one or?
Oh no, I just meant Dungeons and Dragons in general.
Oh well, I feel disgusted with myself.
Oh yeah, okay.
And the other thing is that unfortunately for social justice warriors, as was proven definitively by South Park, PC doesn't stand for politically correct. Stands for pussy crusher. So
I
there
see.
You go. So every time you say that you're for a PC society, well, there you go.
So am I.
So I am also for that. So
I like this again. I'm glad. Like, I am glad that there is a movement to help against racism that is going on across the world. Great. Good.
Alejo. I just wanted to apologize to you personally that I have been such a racist by daring to play Dungeons and Dragons.
With
this racist caricatures. And,
right.
That's on me, man.
Right. Yeah. No. Which one's Hispanic? I don't remember.
And the thing is, like, I'm basically, I'm sorry, Sneaky Adolf. I'm very sorry, but I am Super Hitler.
Oh,
Okay.
Because I've played and ran Call of Cthulhu.
It's true.
Not only do I like this inherently racist game, Dungeons and Dragons, for having people be different.
Right.
I have played a game that actually has actual racism in it. And, whew, man,
hell.
Literally Super Hitler.
Like, okay, so my point is, right, yes. I am glad that there's a movement going on that is against racism. Great. Fantastic. Fucking that part of, like, finds the courage to voice their truth. I hope that's what they're referring to, stuff like that, right? But again, the way that they have put this is such virtue signaling that it just doesn't fill me with anything more than, hello, I am Brand. Like me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and again, I don't care. It's the product. Like, just because a minority of people that are vocal, that are like, this is racist because I hate it. Right? Like, just those people that are doing this, like, you're just bowing down to them and you're going, all right, we'll change it for everyone, when the majority are just like, when the fuck was this racist?
Yeah, right.
When the fuck, like, what, like, I don't understand why are we attributing something that is, like, a fantasy element that is there for us to learn from and grow from and, like, just play out in the game? Like, is it bad to have something that is an evil that you can fight to promote good?
Yes.
Right? Like,
everyone should just be good all the time.
Right, exactly. Like, I'll harken back to Lord of the Rings, right? The orcs in that are just fucking orcs. They're just made from, they are elves that were corrupted, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
And then the Uruk-hai are just like creations of fucking magic. Holy fuck. Right?
The Uruk-hai were men.
They were men.
Is that was the difference?
Okay.
I didn't actually know that.
Okay. Interesting.
I see. So can Uruk-hai not be women? No.
Right, like,
well, they breed asexually, so technically they're gender fluid.
Oh my god. Right,
okay,
like,
that makes it better.
That makes it more okay.
Ooh, you fucking transphobe.
Like,
but you're telling me that an elf can't become an Uruk-hai? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
I am telling you
that
actually.
That Uruk-hai could have been descended from anybody.
Oh.
It could have been a halfling. You don't know.
Like,
yeah, according to 6th edition, they can all be the same.
Yeah.
It's not even going to be 6th. It's 5.5, dude. Like, they are just amending 5th edition with this shit, right? Like, and again, so going to fucking Lord of the Rings, it's just like, the orcs were just fucking bad. They were just bad. Oh no! Sauron was just a bad guy.
Yep.
Remember when he was an elf?
Armor.
Wow! Like,
wait, what?
I think that's, well, at least that's
No, he wasn't.
That was, I'm sorry, he made himself look like an elf to deceive people, I think. That was the thing.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. So, remember when he was a necromancer? Wow, bad! It's like, yeah, okay, he uses the dead, and he kind of makes these people, like, he literally creates a whole thing to kill everyone.
Yep.
I'm sorry, is that, like, that bad? We get rid of that, right? Like, why would there be good and evil in D&D? In this new interpretation, why the fuck is there good and evil when everybody there's nothing to make them at odds?
Hey, wait a minute. Does this mean that I could play like a neutral good skeleton?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Fuck it.
You've always been able to.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I guess I never really thought of playing like well, I mean, because you can play someone who's like a vampire thrall or something like that. Sure. You know, the more human-looking undead. I never really thought to play like a full-on like undead. You know,
it's like, I just, like, if there's no difference at all, why would there be any conflict?
Yeah.
Cultures...
Well, to be fair, I don't think the orcs raid and pillage other villages because other villages have higher whiz scores.
No, and I understand that. But at the same time, like, why would they need to when they can just
They can just be their own society now.
Well, no, they can just be that society.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
They can just be the exact same society.
Yeah.
And just integrate.
Yeah.
There's no reason for them to pillage if they can just integrate, because what's different about them?
Wait, 4th degree burns are a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it went to 3rd degree, and that was it.
Yeah. Huh. It's based on 4th degree bones is burning the muscle.
Oh. Didn't know that. Anyway.
That's fucking random.
I'm reading a book. Shut up.
Yeah, you're fine.
I'm listening though. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Look up trypophobia.
I already know what trypophobia is.
So again, like, I don't see why there would be conflict unless you. So if they are doing this and they want to make it as sensitive as possible, then everyone is the same exact culture, everyone's the same exact, like, everything. Like, there's no reason for them to be at odds. So then it's just them against monsters, I guess?
I guess.
But a lot of the monsters, like goblins, bugbears, hobgoblins, orcs, those monsters aren't monsters anymore. They're just a race now that is the same. So they're out. The drow are out. Why can't the mind flayers be out? Why can't everything be out? Why are beholders now looked at as just a monster and not intelligent enough to choose their own path? Why then?
It's time we finally accept that the Cybriax is a representation of caricatures of beardy boys in the basement. And until they become a playable race and have absolutely no stat differences to every other race, I will not be satisfied.
Exactly.
I know that I too look and probably smell like a Cybriax at all times.
So, like,
shower.
This is
no.
This is not a exaggeration of this argument. This is just the natural progression.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Well, no, it somewhat is, because race is what you are born with, whereas living like a Cybriax is a choice.
So okay, fair. I guess so. But then why not choose? Why can't they just choose to not do that then? Right. Like,
because chaos
to not be black.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, no, like, that's what I'm saying is, like, how is a Cybriax made? Let's go with that.
Primordial?
Yeah, I think they're like primordial.
I honestly don't even know what it is, to be fair.
What the fuck? Which book is it in?
It's in Mordenkainen's.
Okay, hang on.
Because that deals with the abyss.
Okay. Yep, it deals with the other planes. They needed more plane shit in the new books. Oh, you got it? Okay. Mordenkainen Cybriax.
Oh yeah, 137 in Mordenkainen's.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Ooh.
Okay, these things.
They're bad.
Right. Okay.
Let's see.
So
it's not really going into anything about them. You got to actually read the book.
They just kind of exist. Okay, so you can still have abyssal things, I guess. Yeah. They're just inherently evil.
Yeah, wait a minute. As old as the abyss itself, Cybriax is haunted.
If they're inherently evil, isn't that bad? Isn't that a racist thing?
Yeah, I mean, when do we?
When do we stop? Right? That's my question. When do we stop with this? Where is the line?
There can be no peace until genetic homogeneity is achieved.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
the Cybriax can accomplish this.
That's
with the fucking contamination shit.
This
or
is
the warp creature, I mean.
Right. This was my point, right? Like, all of the monsters, where is the line? Because if you just say they're all inherently evil, you're using your own argument of, like, because these are looked at as...
You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, you're because you're looking at the drow and the orc as inherently evil, then if I'm looking at the fucking things from another world that are inherently evil and
sounds like xenophobia.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, what the fuck?
So that means we can't have aberrations anymore.
Nope, can't have them. Yeah. Literally anything that's different, we can't have it anymore because that's xenophobia already, right? Yep. Anything that is different.
Anything that is outside of where you are from and what you are used to, if you hate it, you are xenophobic.
Exactly. Yep. So, like, like, why are there monsters? Why is there a world? Why does anything exist? Why are there gods? Why did they make it this way? They should all be good.
Why is Corellin the Rethian white?
Exactly. Like, it does not end, and it is ridiculous.
Yep. It's real dumb.
It's just stupid.
Oh, I actually like the 5e artwork at the Cybriax is a bit more than the 3. Do I? So I'm looking at the 3rd edition artwork of the Cybriax versus the 5th edition. 4th edition one sucks.
Sure.
Because of course it does.
I could imagine it being a bad representation of it if it existed. Yes.
So here's this is 3rd. Mm-hmm. Well, that one's 3rd. I like that one. This one's 4th.
Okay.
Was it just a floating meatball? Oh,
kinda, yeah.
Oh, wow.
The flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah, and then this is the 5th edition. I can't tell which one I prefer over the 5 and the 3. I think
I like the 5th edition one because it reminds me of those YouTube videos where they drain cysts.
Gross.
I like it.
Yeah, no, I think the 5th was better, honestly.
Yeah, it's just more gross.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all of that. That's the fucking all the things they're doing to D&D in the future. Yeah. That we get to look forward to. And if they don't do it, then what the fuck, like, what's the point?
I would like to take this opportunity right now to publicly declare my intent on probably from now on just buying editions of Pathfinder.
Honestly, yeah. Like,
yeah, because D&D, Pathfinder don't seem to be bitches about this.
No.
Pathfinder 2e is already, in my opinion, better than 5e.
Yeah, absolutely. I will agree with you on that. And having only played the one game and not reading too much into it, like, I've really enjoyed what it is.
I've read a fair amount of the player's handbook and a little bit of the DMG.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like, I will continue, and I don't care if this is like, you only like the older things. Well, yeah, because they have more creative freedom in its own way, right? Like
you don't like the kiddie pool.
Exactly, right? Like, I every fucking time now, I would much rather play 3.5, or I might even play 4th if it existed.
Ooh, that's them's fighting words.
Legitimately,
I have those books, motherfucker.
I know, but I
could run that shit.
That's what I'm saying. But, like, legitimately, I think that we could make it more enjoyable because of what... And I would play 5th edition from what it is now.
Yeah,
not what it's going to be.
Homogenized nothing
exactly
that it's becoming.
And so I hope that we are stressing this enough that people understand the points that we're making. I really do.
I don't know. We spent 3 hours talking about this. I'm sure people by now know we're opposed.
I know, but
we have said fuck a few times, so maybe the message has gotten blurred.
You're not gonna let that go, are you?
No.
Just keep being an asshole about it. Jeez.
Yeah. It's fine. Because I had to go through that a long time ago. It's like, I don't like that you're swearing. I was like, sorry, man. People grow up.
Again,
change.
He He's not against it. He's just saying maybe a little less, and I understand.
I know.
Yeah.
I remember actually when I met I hung out with a friend a while back and he wanted me to meet his girlfriend. His girlfriend was the daughter of a pastor.
Oh no.
And she was not used to an environment where people swore at all.
Oof.
And he's like, "Hey bud, just you and I swear." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, she's not really used to that, so I don't swear around her. I would appreciate it if you didn't either." And I'm like, "She's your girlfriend, dude."
Yeah, exactly. And readdressing that point.
I will do what I can, but man, if she
No
doesn't
promises.
like me, I don't really care.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, yeah, like I know that this has been long and like we've gone through it point by point like we do. At the same time though, I don't want it to be misconstrued, I guess. Anything that we're saying. I hope that the intention is clear and our actual points are clear, right?
Yes.
Like racism bad.
Yep.
Diversity good.
Yep.
Having diversity represented having diversity represented by mechanics also good.
Yes.
Homogeny bad.
I'll say it again. You don't need the book to tell you to do this.
Yes.
You really don't. Like, you can just run a game however you want. There is no need for you to look up at the big corporation of Wizards of the Coast and say, please allow me to play the game the way that I want to play it. That is ridiculous.
I have no creative thought of my own.
Be creative for me.
And cannot do anything but run games raw.
Exactly. That is absolute.
Damn it, Cody!
Absolutely ridiculous. Like, I
fear change.
Exactly, right? Like,
fear racism.
Tell me that it is good and tell me that it is right.
Brands, tell me what morals I should have.
Exactly. It's just again ridiculous.
How will I know what
stupid.
to think or do if the brand does not tell me?
It's silly. It's fucking silly.
You're silly.
Thank you, brand.
Yeah, thank you, brand, for telling me how to be. Like,
Where
it's
would
so
we be
stupid.
without brands telling us what to do, what to buy, what to think.
Do not think. Be excited for next product.
Yes, consume product and be excited for next product.
What the hell is this thing? Oh my god, that's hilarious looking.
It's Red Letter Media.
Yep.
It's free real estate. That's what it is.
So yeah, I think honestly that's where we'll stop because honestly that video, from what I saw of the first few seconds of it, like we've gone over probably what it's got to say. We can go back to it at some point, I guess. If need be, but I think honestly, just from this article, we've gone over everything that we need to say.
Yeah.
What have you done?
It's weird. Look at that thing.
You put it in chats that make it so I can't switch over to them. Because
oh, sorry.
Everything. You guys keep doing this.
Well, we're about to end it anyways. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, I can't show the lovely people.
It has nothing to do with the D&D.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, where can I put it? TableTalk?
Yeah, of course, because that's what we're fucking in. That's that things.
Okay, my bad. Well, I didn't want to post it and be like, "Oh, don't post that."
Do you not want me to show people?
I don't know. It's posting right now. It's doing it.
Already spent a minute talking about it.
No, it has
It's true. Look at that thing.
What the fuck is this? Hold on.
It's really weird looking.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Uh-huh.
Right. They're reptile people.
Well, there you go.
Apparently. Hello, President. Hello. Hello, politicians.
It looks like a congressman.
All right. So, I think that's where we're gonna end it up for today. Thank you all for listening very much, because I know every single one.
Listener specifically, you know who I'm talking about. You.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you again for tuning in, and please continue to. I hope, and we all hope that you enjoy and continue to enjoy. There's
I love the fact that we get a boom of subscribers, and the first thing that we decide to talk about is one of the things that you're never supposed to talk about, which is racism.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Oh, absolutely. It will divide the chaff from the I don't
the
remember.
wheat.
Thank you. The wheat. Yeah, exactly.
Reverse that shit.
Thank you. The wheat from the I don't fucking care.
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm starting to die. It's fine. Anyway, so I'm going to be doing this new thing for those of you who are continuing to listen, and I know it's all of you. Thank you. Those of you at the end here, I'm going to start having the podcast and the actual campaign, which you should check out, Devils and Dice. When they are uploaded, it will be a premiere. So it'll be a little live thing so that people can chat in a little live chat and watch it together and comment together. And maybe I will be in there. Maybe others will be in there. I don't know. Maybe. Just like a little live watch together party, basically. Because YouTube allows that, and it's really cool. It's like one of the good things that they did.
Now that we have over 100 subscribers, does that mean we can also get our own custom URL?
We do have it. It is based entirely on the channel name, which I couldn't put an and sign in. So it is TableTalk. It is TableTalk, Discussion, and Discourse.
Okay.
Fully. That is and I'll have it in the description and everything. Yeah, so thank you again to everyone who subscribed to actually get us to this point. That's fucking cool.
You're welcome.
Really, and yes, thank you, Boo, for being the instigator of this. This eventuality that I knew was totally going to happen, obviously. But again, I'll start doing premieres, and so things will premiere. This podcast will premiere on our YouTube channel first. At 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays. And then again, it's not a premiere, but it will be on audio streaming services where you can get whatever podcast, Apple, fucking Google, fucking whatever you listen to things on, Spotify. It will be on those on Mondays around 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because some of them are a little fucky for some reason and they don't post for a while. It kind of sucks. But again, I can't fucking I don't know the actual times that they post things on like Apple Podcasts because I know Spotify does it really quickly. But anyway, there's that, and then the sessions of Devils and Dice, our campaign that we've been doing, are going to be premiered on our YouTube channel on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget as well that you can follow the Twitter that we have set up at TableTalkD&D, where you can tweet at us about things. Please also, before I forget,
400 subs, I'll subscribe.
We're already subscribed. We're what? Wait, what do you mean?
I'm not subscribed to the YouTube channel.
Oh,
me
fair.
neither.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Hence saying subscribe and not follow.
I see. But anyway, so if you tweet at TableTalkD&D, it will be, we'll see it because I will show people because I will get a notification about it because I run the thing. And sometimes I'm bad at running the thing. I apologize, but anyway, I don't have time sometimes, you know. Anyway, so if you do that, you can tweet us suggestions, you can leave comments on our videos of suggestions, you can leave us an email of suggestions at our email of tabletalkd&d@gmail.com. All of these links will be in the description, whether or not this is the YouTube video or the audio podcast. And yeah, I mean that's everything for now. Anything you guys wanna say at the end here?
There were two things actually.
Sure.
One, if you ever have any reservations about the podcast's language, the campaign has significantly less fucks thrown around.
That is true.
We give less fucks in the campaign. And second of all, be sure to support our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legend. Hey man, it's the first one since we got a whole subscriber boom. So
that's true.
I was gonna say we should start perhaps looking into sponsors such as like Manscaped and stuff like that.
Oh god,
god damn it!
Fuck those guys.
Anyway,
or Harry's Razors
Thank
or
you.
something.
Yep.
Start telling people that their soap is bad.
Right. Yeah.
God.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
God, I hate that.
Yeah, it's stupid.
I still get those all the time.
Oh, me
I
too.
get them too, and I hate
annoying.
it.
It's really fucking annoying. Anyway, anything else that you want to say, Aiden?
Read your player's handbook.
Of course.
Yes.
Having races be different from each other is okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know the term race is scary.
Because if you come in last place, then you have lost. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. True.
But literally, dude, it's fine. Read the player's handbook with an open mind, and you will find it is fine.
And just wait, you'll get the blue shell. Don't worry.
It's true. Yep. You will get.
You
that
will
blue shell
get it.
one day, or even a star, maybe. Who knows?
Right?
Ooh, or bullet bill.
See,
Ooh,
what you
yeah.
got to do is you save the star until you're just about to hit another item thing.
Right,
you
exactly.
use it, and then you get another one.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's great.
Anyway,
Ugh.
thanks again for listening. Very much appreciate it. Hope you continue to, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.